Hello, everyone. I'm James Beecham, founder and CEO of data security company Alter, and welcome to another edition of Rabbit Hole Reviews. This week, I'm going to be covering one that was interesting for me to come across, and it was around Microsoft's security culture. And the reason why I started going down this path was I've had some experiences with Microsoft, specifically around their security, and had some interesting comments from some of the folks there that I'll cover here. But this really kind of comes out of a major issue or incident that happened back in July of 2023 when about 22 organizations had their emails compromised by a Chinese nation state group. The Department of Homeland Security came out with through their cyber safety review board, a pretty scathing review of Microsoft security practices, and really slammed the company for their lack of preparation and lack of training at what you would think would otherwise be a highly secure organization. I remember, some of the early days of DEF CON. I started going back in the 2010s. You used to always hear about Exchange servers that were getting compromised or different ways to do so at DEF CON, but it became clear that wasn't Office 365. Those were still the self-hosted email servers, and that the kind of the SaaS versions or the hosted versions of Exchange were relatively safe. And that was kind of the belief that I had as we were starting Alter and kind of going down this path. That's why we've always been a Microsoft shop. But, I just continue to hear and read more and more about vulnerabilities both across Azure and across some of the Microsoft kind of hosted products themselves. And I think it's really important that we dig into this and kind of understand it some more. So started looking at, in particular, this report from the DHS, and it called out some of the negatives that we see from security companies around how they price their products, keeping SSO and premium logging behind paywalls or with advanced payments required in order to do so. So taking things that companies need in order to be safe and making it even more expensive to do so is kind of something that was called out in the article. The other thing that was called out in the review from the DHS Cyber Safety Review Board was still Microsoft to this day is unable to explain how the signing key that was compromised that led to the Chinese nation states accessing 22 organizations, including government agencies. It's still unclear to Microsoft when that signing key was taken or how it was mimicked, and that should terrify a lot of people here, and it does me as a Microsoft customer. So, of course, Microsoft's response has been swift and large, and they're continuing to make progress, which is good. They've released their Microsoft Secure Future Initiative, which is a multi-year effort. It's going to be combining, they claim, 34,000 engineers worth of working time to resolve security items both across the way the company operates, how the products are built, and how their services are hosted. This reminds me of a silly little story that we tell inside of security. It's called the now made with real cheese problem. And one of the reasons that cybersecurity companies have a difficult time getting their customers to speak publicly about their use is because typically the companies don't want to disclose or talk publicly about how they had needed to improve their security or how they needed to make better choices for compliance and governance and security in general. And so very rarely do you see a large company, a bank or a health system or somebody come out and post, hey, look at us. We just, signed Alter as a vendor. They're going to be securing all of our data going forward. We're so happy to have them here. Thank you so much to Alter, blah, blah, blah. Because when you read posts like that or stories like that from like a bank, for example, it typically begs the question of, well, what was your security before? And that's where this now made with real cheese line comes in. It's like you're at the grocery store and you're on the macaroni and cheese aisle and you're looking at the Kraft macaroni and cheese boxes, and right there in the top right-hand corner of one of the mac and cheese boxes, it says now made with real cheese. And that was somebody in marketing saying, hey, this is going to make us sell more macaroni and cheese. But in fact, for people like me, it just does the opposite. It makes me think, well, what was it made with before? And I think that's the same feeling that people get, investors get, customers get from large organizations when you hear about, hey, look at us, we're enhancing our security, or hey, look at us, we've just done this really cool security thing. It makes you wonder what caused them to need to do this. So good for Microsoft for going through the Secure Future initiative. It covers a number of different aspects, as I mentioned, both how they're going to operate their business, but also how they're going to build their products. I encourage people to go look at the report. It's publicly available online. Again, Microsoft Secure Future Initiative. They're tracking pretty well against their goals there. One of the things I thought was interesting was they have a big focus on quantum safe PKI. So I know we've talked about that in some previous rabbit hole reviews. So it's good to see them tracking that, although I still don't see a huge threat from the quantum machines just yet. Their product engineering section was really interesting. That's where I spent a lot of time reading through, looking at some of the stats that are in there as a customer of Microsoft myself. So happy to report they're nearly done with all those initiatives. Everything from how they're going to do zero access to their different systems, how they're going to be generating per client keys, how they're going to store those keys. So they're very focused on that aspect of it. Inside of the Secure Futures Initiative, last thing here, and then we'll wrap up, is there was a public release of something that they called Secure by Design, a UX toolkit. And the more that I read through it, the more I realized that probably the majority of the issues that Microsoft has been having, or what led to some of the issues back in July 2023, is really all around social. Because this UX toolkit that they've released is basically helping you to understand in your own products, how do you make sure that security is given the time in the user experience to be something that's useful and valuable? So how do you message about multi-factor? How do you message about checking logs? How do you provide an experience that makes somebody want to be more secure with your products? Because it is the case that you can have a number of security features and capabilities, but people have to take advantage of them. One of the issues that they brought up inside of this Secure by Design framework is a lot of the troubles they have with Teams and kind of spoofing Teams messages and Teams administrators. So go in there and take a look at it if you're in the product or engineering side of the world. They really talk about setting measurable user success objectives inside of your UX for security-related tasks. Evaluate the key security interactions that you're going to have with your customers, like logins, account recoveries, permission granting. Those are going to be the areas that are going to be exploited. So make sure that those are very well thought out, and it's very difficult to have somebody kind of spoof or make mistakes there. And I also like one of the other things that came up here, which is scheduling audits of threat scenarios. So as you're using a product, maybe prompt your users to go review their security controls, or maybe even block them from doing something until they go ahead and do that. I know it seems annoying. People will get mad maybe initially, but they won't be nearly as mad as if they have their data or identity stolen. So that was the rabbit hole for this week. Microsoft's security culture, kind of how neglected it has been the past years, how they're doing better. Let's hope they keep it up. Until next week, thank you very much for joining.